Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be setting up my January spreads in my 2023 bullet journal. There you see a couple of pages from my setup. I did post that video a couple of days ago. Go check that out. I'll make sure that that's the link or the suggested video at the end of this one. The materials are the exact same as last time. So the 158 Tombow dual brush pen, the grayish beigeish calligraph, and the gold jelly roll. I think it's from the Galaxy set by Sakura, and my Tombow Fudonesuke hard felt tip calligraphy pen for the borders. And then again, I wanted to show the Archer and Olive pencil that came from the subscription box for December, which I used for all the sketching of this video. I do want to say that that pencil, while you can see here, leaves a very dark line, and that pen, case I was using that too. The pencil leaves a very dark, visible line, but erases so cleanly with any of those like Tombow plastic erasers, the ones you can get like anywhere. Erases beautifully, doesn't smudge, doesn't leave like any remnants of the lead behind. Absolutely fabulous pencils. Highly recommend. So as usual, and as I think I said last time, I can't remember, I like to kind of tie the setup and the first month of my journals to the cover palette essentially, or at least tie that color in somehow. So the journal I just am finishing using was like a navy blue with gold, and so I went with blue and yellow for the setup and then for the Fireflies theme for July. So this one is the Green Thumb notebook, which is not currently available on Archer and Olive's website, but it is, I think it's one they've had, you know, multiple times before, so it may come back in the future if you're watching this later in the year or something. But it is this beautiful like earthy muted green color, which I loved. So I am using the 158 Tombow and the gold glitter to match the gold foiling on the cover. For my setup, as you can still kind of see on the left hand side of the notebook there, I did just a really basic like leaves design, which I absolutely love. For January, I wanted to do something a little bit more cozy, more wintry, and again, really struggling with what am I going to do? This is not a color palette that I associate with winter. This is not a color palette that I'm drawn to when it's cold outside. And then I ended up deciding to do something really simple. If you don't already, go check out Riley Autumn. She does custom bullet journals and she shows tons of them on YouTube. One of the wintry themes that she does in her custom journals is like these mittens and cookies, and I took the mittens idea and ran with that. So I am calling this my take on like the Hygge, like that lifestyle, just cozy, warm, comforting. So I went with beanie caps with the little puff balls on top and mittens and scarves in this two-tone color situation. And just like in the setup, I am going to use the gold glitter gel pen to create hidden designs on all of the green bits. Everything green. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. I just added an extra layer of color to the left hand side of these doodles to give it some depth and dimension, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. You could use any color palette for this. You could do pink and blue or red and gray or whatever your color palette is. This is a theme that would work. It also would work any time of the year, I guess, that's cold, depending on where you live. You know, if you're in the southern hemisphere, this could be your July theme. But I went with it for January, and I wanted to get a little bit more close up so you guys could see more of the work I was doing, and I think I did a better job this video of making sure that what I was doing was staying on camera, with the exception of that moment there, but I quickly fixed it. So, you know, progress. But yeah, and then the Tombow Funesque, just like in the setup, I just love the thick illustrated look that it gives those outer lines, almost like a coloring book with the thicker dark black outline. And then with the scarves, I just made like a little ring and then a little blob and then two, ends of scarves coming out, scarves. And then I just drew the lines in to make it look like they're wrapping over each other the way that a scarf would. I had to like mentally ask myself, like visualize how those scarves would fold onto each other in order to get it to look somewhat realistic, even though it's a doodle. And then I just drew lines to kind of give the idea that the material for the scarf was twisted around and there were shadows there. And that's how I did the scarves for this. And so with my word of the year being embrace, I definitely wanted my first quote to really embody that. So for the quote for January, as you can see here, it says, belong in the moment and celebrate the everyday. So, just embrace life, be present and be in it while it's happening. And that's the theme for 2023, and that's the quote for January. So I know the video is sped up, but there you can kind of see the little crosses and sparkle doodles that I did on the green bits, which you can't see when it's laying flat. You also can't see it in person when it's laying flat, but when you tilt the page, it just like lights up with that design. Again, I really love that effect and how it turned out. I really think it adds something extra to the very simple doodles that I've done here. I do want to let you guys know that this entire setup, start to finish, not including sketching time or any of that, was around an hour and 45 minutes. These are not super complicated doodles. I just kept staring at the page, wondering if I should add more. So it was mostly me just looking at the page. The actual setup was probably about an hour and 15 minutes, but that's just a me thing. Moving on to the calendar page, again, the header there, I just alternated the colors and did like a block style font, which not the font that I'm the most comfortable with, but I definitely wanted that font for this theme just because I've done a lot of the faux calligraphy and the cursive lately, and I just wanted to change it up and do something a little bit more cozy feeling. I added the doodles around the calendar, and the calendar this time is my usual 5x5 boxes. In A5, I do 5x5. When I have a B5 journal, I do 5 boxes wide by 6 boxes tall. So if you watch any of my videos in my larger journal, the calendar will look a little bit more elongated. And that's just because, space allows. With January starting on a Sunday, I ended up needing like 6 lines or 6 sets, so definitely 5x5 was the only option there, unless I wanted to switch up my months and start it on a Sunday, and that would just throw off my whole weekly tracking, and I wasn't about to do all that, so I just made it work. Also, I do want to point out that doing a block letter S, not something I'm good at. I probably erased and redid those S's, and I could not get them small and cute like the other letters. I gave up, and I was like, you know what? Weekend days are just going to be big and bold on this calendar spread because I can't make an S look like an S and make it small and blocked at the same time. So if you have any tips on that, please let me know, because it drove me nuts, and I almost changed the whole font when that wasn't working. Showing off the hidden design once again there before I do the calendar itself. I did a thicker outline of the calendar with the Tombow Fudonesque, and then the inner lines I did with the 0.38 Sharpie S gel pen. I just wanted it to have more of an outlined look than be all one marker, and the Tombow would have been too thick with the smaller boxes, and the Sharpie S gel pen wouldn't have been bold enough with the Tombow's outlining all of the doodles. So this worked out lovely, with the exception of the couple of times my hand got stuck and the pen jumped. Other than that, turned out great. I did gold for the headers here just because I wanted to incorporate the gold a little bit more into the spread to give some more visual, differences to look at. And then just to make those letters pop even more, I went ahead and outlined them as well with the Tombow once the gel was dried, and then continued just filling in those little dots so I could write the days of the month on each of these calendar boxes. I cannot believe we're already approaching 2023. I don't know where the last 3 months went at all, and yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm just like going with it at this point. I don't know how you guys are handling the passage of time, but it is stressful over here. So in addition to my calendar page, I wanted to introduce a monthly log for events and tasks, as well as goals and things like that. So I have those numbers written down. I'm highlighting the weekend days just to make it easier to visibly track where I'm at. And then on the left-hand side of the monthly log, I'll write any appointments, events, bills that are due. And on the right-hand side of the monthly log, I will write down any anything I'm doing towards my goals. And on the right-hand side, I'm going to write down my, on the right page here, I'm going to write down the goals towards my overall yearly goals, as well as any specific tasks that need to be completed. The best way to accomplish a goal is to break it down into steps and then focus on those steps one at a time. So the right-hand page is all goal-oriented, the left-hand page is all events and bills and things I'm doing towards my goals. Another thing I sat and pondered here, instead of doing the doodle on the right-hand side, was I thought about doing, similar to what I did in my setup, I thought about doing a big block of like green at the bottom and kind of doing just gold doodles, dots and sparkles and stuff, to give it like a border to make it look like I was putting washi tape there as well, just to fill up that space on the left page. Is that something you guys would have done? Do you prefer the doodle that I did on the right over like a big block of green at the bottom? I'm just curious. I'm happy with how the doodles turned out, but that was something that I kind of spent a few minutes considering, which added to the amount of time it took for this setup. And then again, I am dropping the mood tracker. I went without a mood tracker for several months. I wasn't really getting anything out of it. I started tracking multiple moods, and for the last few months, everything's been kind of, really stable and great, and I just don't see the need for a mood tracker anymore. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to track my habits on the left, and I'm going to track my anxiety on the right. So I set it up similar to the monthly log, all the numbers going down with the weekend days highlighted. And what I'll do is, if I experience anxiety, or if I experience anxiety to the point that I notice it, because we all have anxiety all the time, it's just part of life, but if it's at a level that I'm not comfortable with, then I want to write in here what thoughts I was having, what anxious thoughts I was having, or what events caused me to react with anxiety. So it's just an anxiety log versus a mood log, because it's one thing that I do still see the benefit of tracking in order to, kind of process and work through things. But you could do a mood tracker, you could do doodles, you can do a line a day. There's lots of different ways to kind of track those things in your monthly setup. This is just what I'm doing for January. That could say anything at the top and you can make it work for you. And then we come to the brain dump, which is the last page of this setup. And I did a 2-page brain dump for January because I have a big trip coming up in February that I want to make lots of things written down for. So I did a 2-page, and then I am really happy how this page turned out. Typically, calendar pages end up being my favorite, but I do somewhat think that the brain dump might actually be my favorite for January, just because of the border that you're going to see that I do here. I just think it looks really, well put together and balanced, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. But I do want to take a moment and thank you guys. The last video that I posted got a lot more views and attention than previous videos, and I'm not sure what I did differently, but I am glad nonetheless. So I wanted to take a moment and thank you guys. If this is the first of my videos that you are seeing, definitely feel free to subscribe. I typically only post 1 video a month. This month is the exception with 3 videos because I did an unboxing video, my 2023 setup, and now this January spread. Like this video if you found anything at all inspiring about it, and let me know which of these pages was your favorite. Until next time, guys, I hope you guys have a great holiday season, and I will see you then.